Greetings, fellow grade 10s. It is Mr. Shadrayo here. Welcome to Back to Basics, right? So, in today's work, basically, what we are doing here, we are going to be learning about factorization, right? This is just a revision of some of the grade 9 concept which you might have learned, right? Altogether, but I have also infused some of the things from grade 10, which we are going to be learning with continuously. So, right now, let's see. So now from here, we are going to be doing factorization. Now, what is to look at the first thing, right? So here you are having 3, this is 3x squared minus 7x, then minus 6, right? Now, what is it then that you are going to do now from here? So I want you to look at this. Can you see that this is a what this is going to be your what this is going to be a quadratic equation or your trinomial, right? Because you're having three things. Once again, now what is the first thing here that you are going to do? Remember, in order for us to factorize, we are going to open our two brackets firstly, right? We are going to open our two brackets. And then now, the second thing is that we are going to look at the factors of 3 and the factors of 6 that combined, or when they are combined, they are going to give us a 7 out again, right? So for an example, we know that factors of 3 it can only be 3 and 1 altogether. So which means here I can write my 3x and here I can write my x altogether. And then now what are some of the factors of 6, right? I know that I have my 1 and also 6 and also I have my 2 and also my 3 altogether, right? Now what is the best one that I can use here, right? For an example, if I can use the combination of 1 and 6, right? Now, and then I am looking to find out what is going to be my middle term, which is my negative 7, right? So within the two factors, which one is going to be the best, right? So for an example, if I can use 1 and 3 and also 1 and 6 and also the factors from the first term, which is 3, it's 1 and what? It's 1 and 3. Again, so between these combination of 1 and 6 and 1 and 3, there is no possibility here that if I use these two terms or these terms, I can get my negative 7, right? However, for an example, now if I can use my 1 and also and 3 in what? In 2 and also and 3, right? Now, I want you to look at this. Can you see that if I can multiply my 3 with 3, I can get my what? I can get my 9. And then if I can multiply my 2 with 1, right? If I multiply my 2 with 1, what is that I'm going to get here? I can get my what? I can get my 2. Again, but I am looking for a negative 7 here, right? So which means what is it that I'm going to do now from here? So for me to get a negative 7, which means the 9 must be negative, right? And also the 2 can just remain positive because negative 9 and also 2, this one gives me my 7 again. So which means the best factors that I'm going to use here. Now here I am going to use my 3 because 3 times 3 gives me 9, right? And then the 2 that I'm going to use, it's going to be here. And then because I am looking for my middle term to be negative, this is going to be negative here, right? Because 3 multiplied by negative 3 gives me negative 9x altogether, right? And then here I can have my positive now because I know that negative 9 plus 2 gives me my 7 altogether. So now this is how I would solve this one firstly. Altogether. Now, let's look at now our number 2 and see in terms of what is that is given in here in number 2, right? So in number 2, you are given that you're having negative 2x squared minus 18, and then this is minus 12, right? Remember, this is a what? Factorization. So what is the best thing that we can do now, firstly, to learn to factorize this? Now we are going to start here. I think it is important that we start by, right? So we are going to start by doing this. We are going to start by writing this in what? In your uh quadratic form, right? Or rather in your binomial or trinomial form, which means this is going to be ax squared plus bx. This is plus c. Altogether. So which means you're going to start with negative 2x squared, right? Then this is going to be, remember this was x, then this is going to be same as negative 12. This is negative 12x, right? And then this is going to be negative 18. Again. And then now from here, what else then now can be done from here, right? So what can be done from here now is that now, if I can look at this, right? I want you to realize that now, can you see that 2 is divisible here, right? 2 is divisible here. Okay. So which means actually I can take out my negative 2 firstly as a common factor, right? And if I take my I take out my negative 2 as a common factor, I'll be left with what? I'll be left with x squared. Now if I take out negative 2 here, right? Now can you see then if I say negative 2 multiplied by let's say multiply by negative 6, right? Or rather by positive 6, then I'm going to get negative 12, which means this is going to be negative 6x. And then this one is going to be negative what? This is going to be my negative 9. Out again. This is going to be my positive 9 also, right? So now, which is what I am required to what? To factorize. Now, what is it that I'm going to do now from here? Obviously, I am going to open up my 2 brackets, right? So the first factor, you are it's same as having 1 here, which means here I have x and here I have x, right? But now, remember now, which means I have 1 and 1, right? Now, which is the factors of the first term. Now, what are the factors of the second term or of your last term? For 9, it's what? We know that 9 can be made by what? 9, it is 1, and 9 is also 3 and 3, right? But I'm looking for the combination of factors that combined, they can give me a 6. Okay, right? Now, can you see that when you either add or minus these terms, right? There is no way that I can get my what? My 6. Are we together? So which means now the best factors then that I'm going to use here, it's going to be 3, right? It's going to be 3 and 3, because now if I can say this is positive 3, this is positive 3. Now, because all of this is multiplied by 1, isn't it? This is multiplied by 1, right? So which means this one, I can still get my what? I can still get my 6, right? So which means here I am going to have my 3 here. I am going to have my 3 here, right? Because this is positive. What is that I'm going to have here? So this is going to be positive 3 here, and also positive 3, which is going to be what? Which is going to be what I am required to have in this one. Okay, right? So this is going to be how we factorize this particular expression, right? Now let's continue now swiftly along and see in terms of what else now can we have from here, right? Now number 3, here you are having x into bracket x subtract 1, and then this is subtract, this is 6 into what? Into 1 subtract x. Okay, right? Now what I am going to be doing here, it is what is called factorization by grouping, right? Now, what is it that I'm going to do now from here? Firstly, I'm going to start here. Now, I want these brackets. If I'm looking at this bracket, and also this bracket, can you see that these 2 brackets are not the same, right? And what is it that I can do to make this particular bracket to be the same as this bracket? I want you to look at this, right? So if let's say I take out my negative here, right? If let's say I switch now the x and also the 1, right? Can you see that if I have negative, let's say I have negative into bracket, then I write x minus 1, right? What is it then that this going to be, right? Now let's see. So if I take out my negative here, can you see that again, if I'm multiplying the negative with this one, can you see that I'm still going to get what? I'm still going to get my negative x, which is what I have here, right? Also, even here, if I multiply my negative with my negative, I'll still get my positive 1 here. Okay. So which means now for me to do this, right? For me to make this particular brackets, right? To be the same as this bracket, I need to take out my what? I need to take out my negative, right? So which means also this negative that I will take out from here is now going to affect this negative, right? So which means here my sign is going to change from being a negative to be a positive, right? Because it's going to be negative and negative, right? So if you cannot see it, now this is going to be same as what now? So which means now the sign here, it is going to change, right? So which means now because I've taken out the negative, this is going to be x into bracket. This is going to be x subtract 1. Then this is now going to be plus 6 into bracket x minus 1, right? Because of the negative that I've taken out in here, right? Remember, it was negative, then multiplied by negative. That's why I am having my positive, right? So now what I have here, it's one and the same thing, right? So which means now from these two terms, right? From these two terms, now I can do what? Now I can, take out x, subtract 1 as a common factor between these two, right? Because remember, these are two factors, right? Remember, a factor can only be separated by a plus or minus, right? A bracket or a multiplication or a division sign doesn't necessarily separate a what? It doesn't separate these things, right? So which means here, what is that I'm going to have here? This is going to be x. Now, if I'm taking out my common factor, it's x minus 1, which is my common factor, right? Now, what is it that I'm going to remain with here? I am going to remain with x plus 6. Not again. So, which is what I am going to have in here, right? I know probably you might have your problems with this one, but don't worry. As we are continuing, you are going to understand this one, right? Now, let's look at now the next one. What is it then that you are having? So in the next one, I have 5. This is 5 subtract 45 over a squared, right? Now, I want you to pay attention here, right? I think you can see that this is this is a fraction, right? So what is the first thing that I can do now from here? So I can start by making this to be a fraction of what? Of negative of 5 over 1, right? Now I can now aspire to have my denominator to be the same, right? So, or I can make my denominators to be the same, right? So which means now my LCT, right? uh my lowest common denominator in this particular case, or my denominator in this case, I want it to be what? It's going to be my a squared, right? So which means now I want these two things to have the denominator of a squared firstly, right? So what is it that I can do now from here? Because this side already have a squared and as a denominator, now I'm going to come back on this side and multiply by a squared in the numerator, and also multiply by a squared in the what? In the denominator, so that everything can have the what? Can have the denominator of a squared, right? Are it okay? And then now what is it then that I'm going to have here? This is going to be same as what? This is going to be same as 5a squared over my a squared. Subtract, what is that I'm going to have here? This is same as 45 divide by what? A squared. Are we together? And now that I have my a squared and a squared as as my denominator, right? I can write everything under one roof, right? And what do I mean by saying that? Which means now I can write this as 5. This is 5a squared subtract 45, right? Because the denominators are the same, I can write this under one denominator, which is going to be what? Which is going to be my a squared, right? And now what else now can I have here? Now, if I'm looking at my numerator, I can take out a common factor there, right? And the common factor that I can take out from here, it is going to be 5, right? So which means if I take out the common factor of 5, I'm going to have my a squared subtract what? Now, what is going to be 45? If you say 45 divided by 5, what is that you are having there? This is going to be 9. So this is same as a squared subtract 9, right? Divide by what? Divide by a squared. And a squared subtract 9, can you see that this is a difference of two squares, right? So which means here I am going to have 5 into bracket. When I say a squared, this is a difference of two squares, which means this is going to be same as a, and this is going to be same as 3 and also my 3. And then what is that I'm going to have here? This is going to be my plus and my minus, and also here it's going to be same as a squared. Oh, it's okay. Now, this is how I am going to work with this particular, with this one. Are we fine? Right? So basically now that's how you are going to work with this. Now, let's look at the next question, which is number 5, and see in terms of what is it now that can be done in there so that we can solve these types of question, right? Now, let me just make up my space here quickly so that I can write number 5 uh, in a wall space, or rather in a space that is much more user friendly, right? So let's just make this one. Now look at this one, right? So this is going to be from here. Now look, here you are having p squared now, plus this is into bracket x subtract what? X subtract y. Then this it's going to be same as p And then this is going to be subtract what? Subtract xy, right? Now this is where you are going to do factorization by grouping. What is the first thing that can be done in here, right? So the first thing that I can do here is that I can start by distributing the p here, right? I can start with my brackets, right? So which means I can say this is p squared plus, now what is that I'm going to have here? Then this is going to be x multiplied by p and also y multiplied by p, right? Which is going to be xp, right? This is going to be xp, then this is going to be subtract yp, and then this is subtract x what? Xy. Are we together, right? Now that's what I am going to do, right? So, and then now from here, I can do, right? This is where now I can do factorization by grouping, right? How am I going to do that? I'm going to take these, right? These two also, and also I am going to take these two and also factorize them, right? Now what? And how am I going to do that? Look, this is going to be same as what? Now, between these two, I can take out a common factor, right? Can I not? Yes, I can take out a common factor. And what is the common factor between p squared plus xp, right? Can you see that my common factor here is going to be same as p, right? And if I've taken out my p, what is that I'm going to be left with here? I'm going to be left with x plus what? X plus, or rather, why am I saying x? It's going to be same as what? P plus x, right? Why am I doing that? Let me just fix that quickly. So here, because it's p squared, this is going to be p. Now, because I've taken out the p here, it's going to be p plus x. Are we together, right? Now, and then now I am going to say here also, I say now there's a negative sign, right? Now, between the two, what is it that I can take out as a what as a common fact, right? Now I can say, look, I can take out my y as a common factor in here. And when I take out my y as a common factor, what is that I'm going to remain with here? Now I am going to remain with you what? Look, I want you to look at this one carefully, right? So this one I've taken y, so I'm going to remain with my p, right? Now, and now in here, I've taken out the y. I'm going to remain with my what? I am going to remain with my x. Again, I am going to remain with my x, but now what is it then that I can do from here so that I have this one? Look, now this, can you see that this one, now I cannot write this as what? I cannot write this as a negative, what? As a negative, right? As negative x, right? Why am I saying that? Because look, if I say negative multiply by, if I say negative y multiplied by negative x, can you see that now I am going to get my positive what xy instead of negative xy, right? So which means this must be positive, right? Because when I say positive multiplied by negative, and then this is going to be one and the same thing. Again, right? And then now from here, what is it then that you are going to have here? Let's see. So which means now from here, this is what I am going to have, which is going to be p plus x and also p plus x, right? And now, look, these are two different terms again, right? Can you see that these are two different terms, right? So I can still be in a position to continue to what? To factorize, right? And how can I continue to factorize here? Now, this is going to be same as p plus x and also p plus x. Can you see that p plus x is common in both of these, right? So if I take out p plus x as a common factor, what else then I am going to be remaining with here? I am only going to remain with what? With p over this side, subtract my what? Subtract my y, which is going to be what I remain with in this particular question. How to get? So I am hoping that, we are having a little bit of an understanding in terms of how we can solve this type of question, right? So thank you very much for just, watching this part A. Please ensure that you also, look for part B, which is going to be the continuation of questions from 6 up until 10, so that we can have a better understanding of how we can do factorization. This is an important concept for for your revision before we can do some of the concrete stuff when it comes to our grade 10s, right? So thank you very much for listening.